Thank you, James. Thank you all for coming and being interested in this profound topic. So, before I begin, I want to say that this will be a certified course. That means you will get certificate of completion or certificate of participation at the end of the course. But to get that certificate, you have to be active. You have to be actively engaged, asking questions, discussing, and so on. If you are just switched off and somewhere in the background, you will not get the certificate from me. So, for those who need certificate, of course, it is very valuable. It's our first endeavor to do this, and it will be signed by us, by Namaha, by James, and by our university. So we are very looking forward to this first times certified course. So the course has 15 hours, so we will have 10 sessions, 1.5 hours each. And I want to make them, these presentations, shorter, 15 minutes, 20 minutes the topic, and then discussion, 10, 15 minutes. 15 minutes, 20 minutes topic, then discussion. So I will split topics within shorter presentations for you to engage. Otherwise, there is no certification needed. I can read my lectures to you and finish the whole course. So, but I want your participation, your active interest. Many of you I know. Many of you are parts of different courses which we run here at La Grace Center. And so many of you I do not know yet, but I am looking forward to learn about you and your interest in the Veda. This is one part which is important. The other part is that we have to highlight the very idea why it is so important for the integral yoga and humanity and the future of humanity. So I will start with general kind of framing of the course in this way. First of all, Sri Aurobindo himself was a great visionary, yogi. They call him Mahayogi in India, or Maharishi. Many people call him Maharishi because he was a poet and he was the freedom fighter, as you know. And he came to yoga from this perspective. He was not even sure that the divine God exists, but when his brother was cured by one sannyasi who pronounced mantra over the water and gave him to drink the water, and his brother was cured within a very short time, he saw the great power in yoga. And so he spoke to the divine, to God. He said, I do not know whether you exist or not, but if you are, you know that I ask nothing for myself, but I ask power and knowledge to liberate my country. And in that moment, he was given this gift of the divine, and his great yoga started. He met Vishnu Bhaskar Lele, the great yogi, Maharashtrian, who introduced him into the meditation, and within 3 days of his meditation, separating his mind, his Purusha from Prakriti, his witness mind from the active mind, he achieved the silent Brahman, as he calls it, realization of silent Brahman, or Nirvana. And from that time on, his journey started. He had many more realizations afterwards. And he was very interested in spiritual literature. So he studied the Gita, he learned Sanskrit by himself, he studied the Gita, Upanishads. He looked at the Veda with a kind of less interest, as he says, because he saw little value in that religion. It was more of that older times, belonging to some prehistoric times religion, and didn't see much value in it, or didn't understand it at least. But with his development of his yoga, especially after Alipur jail, where Krishna revealed himself to him and gave him and put Bhagavad Gita into his hands, as he says, and revealed him the secret of all the languages and many more secrets, and gave him a mission, then in that time he was looking for the language which could explain his own experiences. And one day he saw the vision. 3 great names, Ila, Saraswati, Mahi. They were as if written in this subtle vision. And then he was wondering, what is this? Where is it coming from? When he had that experience. And then he looked into the Veda and he found the passage which describes exactly his spiritual experience. So he found the language, the imagery, which could fit and could describe what was happening to him. That was the great discovery of the Veda. And from that time on, he started to look into the Veda, because Veda was using the poetic language, symbolic language, to express, to formulate the experience which are far beyond mental and earthly mind, let us say that way. So, in his studies of the Veda, he started that study from the times of Arya, 1914, when he met the mother. He started to write the articles on the Rig Veda, the secret of the Veda, and so on. He realized that the Veda was actually the end of one long period, spiritual period of civilization, rather than its beginning. It concluded a long passage of the development from before and was a remnant of some great spiritual culture. And with a gap of 1,000 or more years between that time and Brahmanic time, of Brahmanic literature, when Brahmanas came into the being, and where the commentaries on the Vedas, he saw a huge gap. Brahmanas tried to recover that spiritual tradition in their own way. They generated and created many rituals, and the whole ritualistic approach to life in Indian tradition was maintained and created by Brahmanas as commentaries on the Vedas, but with a huge gap. And then later there was, over time of the thousands of years, there was a need to recover the very meaning of the Veda. And then Upanishads came into being. The Upanishads took the vision of the Veda and framed it into their own language, in the language closer to our time, to the mental structure. It was closer to the philosophy of some kind. Though it was still spiritual, one footing was still in the Vedic experience, but another expression of language was already closer to the philosophy. There was a shift from more universal appeal of the Vedas to the more individual structuring of consciousness and realization. So Aurobindo says there are two great syntheses of knowledge. One is the Veda, and the other is Upanishads. Brahmanas he kind of puts in between as a transition. Then the Gita came. The Gita came later. Though, interestingly, if you look into the Gita text, here is the text. And this Gita is always with me for the last 30 years, this old book, which was published by Gita Press. And you know how much it costs? 1 rupee. Only text of the Gita. 1 rupee Gita is always with me. And The Gita, if you look at the end of each chapter, you will see something like this. Om Tat Sat Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishatsu. So it is considered to be the Upanishad, and rightly so, because Upanishads, the Vedas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads, and the Gita constitute the Shruti canon, the revelation of knowledge, which was not composed by the human mind, which was received, yes, by the people who made themselves fit for this impersonal knowledge. So it is called Shruti, revelation. Well, we translate it as inspiration, inspired knowledge which came down to the mind of the thinkers. The rest part of all literature is Shruti, Smriti. Smriti is something which was composed by human mind, which was remembered, which was written down later, and was transmitted through the memory, memorizing. Mahabharata, Ramayana, all the Shastras, Darshanas, and so on. There's a huge literature. But all of the Shruti, of the Smriti, is built on the Shruti. Yes, Shruti is that inspired knowledge which inspired the Smriti to continue. These are all mainly commentaries and reflections upon the Shruti texts. So what is important is that the Veda was the end of the cycle of the great spiritual culture and civilization. By the way, it is also mentioned in the Veda itself, in the Rig Veda, Ya ima vishva bhuvanani juhvadrishirhotan yasidat pitanach sa ashisha dravinam ichamanach pratham achad avaran avivesha. The rishi sat down and he was seeking the realization in the physical, and he closed one period of time and opened to the other period. So the first period of time, that ancient one, was hidden by the rishis themselves. They made it unknown to us and started a new period, opened to the new age of humanity, our historical age. It's kind of interesting to know that it is even mentioned in the Veda. In the Veda also it is known that there are ancient parts of the Veda, they are called Nivids, those where the language is very archaic and very simple, but very loaded with symbolism. We will come to it later. But for now, it's important for us to know that the Veda ended the period of civilization and a new age came through Upanishads. In Indian tradition, it is always understood that Upanishads are Vedanta, the end of the Veda, and the top of the Veda, the cream, the essence of the Veda. Though it is not totally so. Yes, now, Upanishads are rather reflections upon the Veda in their own language. As Aurobindo says, Upanishads were engaged more in creation of their own system of knowledge on the ground of the Veda rather than commenting on the Vedic texts. Though in all the Upanishads there is constant supreme reverence to the Veda as the highest and supreme knowledge. We will come to it again because it will be important for our presentation. So why the Veda is so important for us, for Sri Aurobindo? What did he really find there in the Veda that it is so important for the whole humanity? And this is the topic of the first part of today's session. What he discovered is the sacrifice. The sacrifice is the constant transformation of our nature by spiritual presence. It's a journey. Yajñam adhavaram, a constant journey, and the man is the ever-advancing pilgrim. These are the words of the Veda in Sri Aurobindo's translation. And if a man is the ever-advancing pilgrim growing in consciousness, in his evolutionary journey, in the evolution of consciousness, Sri Aurobindo takes this idea and puts it into his own words. A man is a transitional being, constantly on the path of his growth in consciousness. This idea you cannot find anywhere in the post-Vedic literature, only in the Veda. Evolution of consciousness. This is what the Veda represents for Sri Aurobindo. There is a flame, has to be kindled in the heart, Agni, who calls to the divine powers from above, brings them down and makes them work here for the transformation of our nature. This descent of the power from above into our adhara, into our being, into our mental, vital and physical being, and transforming them by their presence and their power, is the very idea of the integral yoga. These gods or godheads are the powers of the Divine Mother. He is the Mother. It is only in the Veda that we speak about the Divine Mother as the foundation for all the gods. She is Aditi, and all the gods are her children. Her faculties acting here, working here for the manifestation of the divine. So it is the brief overview which I wanted to make. And the most important part for Sri Aurobindo was the discovery of the language of the Veda. We speak about this very often. The language is so unique in the Veda that it is articulating the meanings in such a way that they convey the power and presence of consciousness. We call them mantras. So any articulation of that in that particular way makes knowledge vivid and present. And what is interesting is that it is also referred to this power of language in the Indian tradition itself. Sayana speaks about this, that those who know the Vedas and recite them, understand the meaning and know the word, they make in their own space the gods to be born. The gods are born from the mantras within your space. You become the altar when you pronounce those Vedic verses. So the language, the word, transforms our consciousness. And this is something very profound, especially for Sri Aurobindo. Then if you look carefully, you will find that the whole Indian tradition, from the Vedic times till the modern times, is word-oriented. It's all about word, about mantras, about speaking, not so much creating temples. Temples are much later in time, coming 1,000 years ago only. The temples were not so popular. The Vedis were popular. But the whole Indian tradition is word-related. Svadhyaya, everybody learned by heart the texts and recited them to themselves. Is it not so? It's all the time memorizing the sacred text and reciting it to yourself. For what? To change your own consciousness, to invoke the power of the word to change oneself. Don't we do the same now with Savitri, reading Savitri or Sri Aurobindo's works or other works? It is the same story. We are reading it because we want to change our consciousness. So Sri Aurobindo started the whole view on the word from different perspective from the Vedic perspective as the power which transforms consciousness. The whole new vision of science of new language, or let us say new science of language he wanted to create, which will explain how our language was generated. In Alipur jail, Krishna revealed to him the secret of all languages, the origin of all languages. And Sri Aurobindo started his work, and in the origin of Aryan speech, he actually lays out the whole foundation for new science of language. It also comes from the Veda. And the other thing is very important. These are the important points which we will be coming back to through our course, is that India and the earth. Mother says the earth is the psychic being of the universe. It is only on earth, in the physical body, in the embodied state, that the consciousness can be changed and evolved. We can grow in consciousness only in the physical body on earth. Once we drop the body, we cannot evolve. There is no evolution without the body. There is no evolution of consciousness without the body. So earth is so precious. The psychic presence is in the greenery on earth. Everything grows, evolves, aspires for the highest expression of the divine. And so when we are embodied, even gods, she says, even great gods, if they want to evolve and change in consciousness, they have to take a human body to evolve. And on earth, India has a special role. India is the psychic being, the heart of earth. Just think about it. The quintessential essence of earth. And we know this. Whenever we come to India, we feel the presence. It's a holy land. It's a Jambudvipam. Yeah? And Jambudvipa, it's an island. And we know India is an island. It is pushing towards the Himalayas, and Himalayas are growing. It is a drifting island. And it is the center of the spiritual presence. So, Sri Aurobindo believed that India has to be a guru of the world. Many things depend on India's recovery of the spiritual knowledge. If India will follow only Western paradigm, then India will lose itself and become something very secondary in the value for humanity. But if India brings forward the spiritual knowledge, then she will contribute to the future of humanity. So interestingly, in that way, I will start my presentation now. It's already half an hour. It was just my entry speech. And I will have to start the presentation. But before I start, I will open to the questions and answers. We need to interact. We need to be alive with this topic. Yeah, please go ahead. You have to unmute yourself and talk.
The first question I want to ask is that, say, how has that Vedanta or Upanishad, first of all, what is the difference between Vedanta and Upanishad? Because often we call Veda and Upanishad. So what is the clear distinction and the understanding? And then how it has developed from the Vedas? That is not clear.
Yeah, it will become more clear when I will make presentations, but briefly, Vedanta is a general name, Veda Anta, the end of the Veda, yes, which was assigned to the Upanishads. But truly speaking, Upanishads are not even Vedanta, they are Upanishads, yes. And there are ancient Upanishads, very ancient, like Isha Upanishad is a conclusive part of Vajrayana Samhita. It is a part of Samhita. Isha Upanishad. Can you imagine? And Kena Upanishad is a part of Jaimini Upanishad, Brahmana. So they are part of that Vedic literature. That's why most probably later they were called Vedanta at the end of the Veda, conclusive part of the Veda, since Isha Upanishad is conclusive part of Samhita. And that name got stuck to them as Vedanta. And so we call, when we say Vedanta, we mean Upanishads. But truly speaking, they belong to totally different period of time and different structure of consciousness. But still they rely and refer to the Veda, to the Vedic experience. You know? And they consider the Veda to be the supreme knowledge, which they even don't claim to have. You know, they refer to it as the supreme and develop their own. Yes, Pooja, you wanted to say something?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to know, has Sri Aurobindo talked about other Vedas other than Rig Veda also? Or his main commentary is only on?
Not much. Only Rig Veda. He focused on Rig Veda, and there is a reason for it, because the Rig Veda is the original text. Yeah? The Rig Veda has 10 mandalas, and all the rishis are there. They have their family mandalas, like Vishwamitra, Vasishtha, you know, and so on. But other samhitas, like Taittiriya Samhita, Krishna Yajurveda or Yajurveda, they refer to the Veda, but to the Rig Veda. Rig Veda never refers to Taittiriya text. So we know by that the Rig Veda is original. And in that sense, of course, Sri Aurobindo took the very beginning, the most ancient text. We have, of course, Atharva Veda, which is a bit different, also very archaic. But if you look into the language of Atharva Veda, you will see that it is not as ancient language as the Rig Vedic.
Thank you.
I have a question. Um, you said that Veda is an end of a very developed stage. So in the Veda itself, there is a mention of a Prachin Rishi in the very first sutta, Agnish Purve Bir Rishibir Idyo Nutane Iruta. So
Yes.
even before Veda, there was a still another period, developed period.
Yes. Purva Rishaya, yes. The first rishis, they are mentioned, yes, and Nutana. So you can imagine that Rig Veda is written by Nutana rishis, by the modern rishis, they call them modern.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. And they
And
were ancient rishis.
so we don't get any trace of what was the idea of what was the knowledge of ancient rishis. That we don't have
Well,
any.
well, I believe, and Sri Aurobindo believes, that these Nutana rishis follow the ancient rishis, yes? As
Okay.
he says, the dawns of the past follow the dawns of the future, or the dawns of the future follow the dawns of the past. There is a tradition, parampara. They took the vision, the ideas from the ancient culture and put it into a new language. So this is happening, yes. So it is believed by Indian tradition that at the beginning of each Manvantara, you know, Manvantaras are big portions of time with Satya Yuga, Mahasatya Yuga, and ending with Kali Yuga. Yeah? So we have Treta, Dvapara, and Kali Yuga. These are the periods of time within Manvantara where the group soul of humanity is engaged. So to say, like we are engaged as human beings, yes, reincarnation of the group soul is taking place in Manvantara. So the whole humanity group soul comes, lives this Manvantara through to the end of the Kali Yuga. Then there is a pralaya. The group soul withdraws, yes, reviews its engagement in the new period and comes back and engages again. When we come back at the beginning, the Purva Rishayaha, first rishis, bring this vision of the whole Manvantara, what we are here to do. And that is the Veda. That is that ancient Veda that vision of the group soul brought down by the involutionary beings for humanity to follow. So, yeah.
So each manvantara means end of one kalpa.
Each manvantara, there are 14 manvantaras in the kalpa. So
Yeah,
you have
we
to
are in
complete.
seventh.
We are in the seventh. Yes,
So,
correct.
but is it that when Krishna says yah kalpa, every kalpa I reproduce, regenerate the entire world and Vedas also. So each manvantara, end of manvantara is an end of kalpa, an entire going
No,
into.
Adam Walker. Veda is brought. Veda, what is the Veda? We are just trying to understand by Indian tradition. The Veda is the vision of the group soul. Rishis are the involutionary beings. They are not even evolutionary beings. They are like avatars. They come for a purpose. Families of avatars, can you imagine? They bring the knowledge from above for the humanity to remember and to memorize and to pass in memory. Why it's so important to keep in memory this knowledge? Because it holds the very quintessential purpose of our manifestation here as humanity. Yes? And in that sense, yes, every manvantara starts with another set of rishis, and each manvantara has another set. You can read it through Puranas. You will see who is involved in what manvantara, and they bring the Vedas down for the group
Okay.
soul to remember, and not kalpa. Kalpa is a bigger portion. It's the whole thing is wiped out and started again, as it were.
Okay. And another thing you said, sorry, I'm asking so many questions. Maybe somebody else want to ask, then I'll pause.
You will get your certificate already.
No. It is not for certificate, but I have got so
I'm
much
joking.
curiosity. I have so much curiosity about this. You said that this Veda is for the transformation. They wanted to bring God over here for the transformation. So, what is the aim of that transformation? Whether we are going back to the transcendent state, was that aim of the
No,
Veda?
no, we are
It was
going
always in the
forward.
manifoldness, the divinity to be revealed in the manifoldness, right? Not into oneness.
Immortality is the aim, yes.
Immortality. Then why in Srimad Bhagavad Gita Krishna said, or whether it is related to this, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavardhana Veda Vishaya is a Traigunya only and not a higher state. Is there any connection with this too?
Yeah, he is against the Brahmanism because Brahmanism hijacked the Veda, created rituals, made it really very, how to say, void of experience, but present in the everyday life. It's actually this revolt against this Brahmanic fixing the Veda as the means for everyday life without really joining the true meaning of it, yes, spiritual meaning, was in many coming, like Buddha was also revolting against this Brahmanism. Krishna also is against of this, selling the knowledge to the society for the sake of getting your privileges and so on. It was slowly conventionalized to the extent that, as Aurobindo says, the spirit evaporated from the cloth. Cloth was there, but spirit was not there. So this was the revolt. It's not against the Veda. By the way, you will find other passages in the Gita where he says it's like you are digging for the water in the well, but there is a flood of water from what I'm giving to you, so why do you need to go that route? But the water is there in the well and the flood, the same water of knowledge of the Veda. He was not against the Veda. If you look the whole fourth chapter on the sacrifice, you will see in the third and fourth chapter especially that he revealed this knowledge, karma yoga. What is karma yoga? Is actually spiritualizing our being here constantly. Yes. So there is just another language. Krishna is closer to our mental structure. He speaks mental language. He gives an instruction, whereas the Veda is more a direct appeal to the powers. which are immediately embodied. It's not an explanation. Veda explains nothing. It's a calling for the presence. And that is the difference. There was a shift of paradigm. By the way, this is what you define. Our topic today is a shift of paradigm from the Vedic to the Brahmanic to the Upanishadic to the Gita. Gita is already even farther away from Upanishads. Upanishads are far away from the Veda, from the Vedic appeal to the universal powers to transform not only me, but us. Veda always refers to these powers that come to us, transform us. Never for me, that you will never hear me there, or I. Yeah? So, and later, slowly, in the Upanishads, it becomes me and I, and about me and my faculties of consciousness, my seeing, hearing, still very universal appeal, but already closer to me. And the Gita is totally already individual oriented, what you should do in order to get to the divine. So this transition took place.
Okay, so I get it that Krishna was not the original against the original Veda, but the Brahmanic Grantha, which interpreted Veda in their ritualistic way. So he was
Right.
against that, correct?
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you. Yes.
The same as Buddha, the same as Mahavira, the same as everyone who wanted to revive the spirit. Yeah? Upanishads.
Mahavira, you said, Mate, that is a Jain Mahavira?
Yes.
But Jain is a totally different tradition, no? It is a ascetic tradition, right?
Yes, absolutely. Buddhism
But
is also a ascetic tradition, but they are all built on the Indian Vedic vision of the spirit, finding the spirit. How would you find the spirit? Yeah, spiritual presence, Brahman. How would you
yeah,
find?
yes.
You formulate it in different ways, in different languages, closer to your time, and you're trying to revive the tradition, which will be more understood. We will look into this levels, how it came down
Okay.
to Bhakti movement and finally Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, and Sri Aurobindo and the Mother.
Okay.
So the whole
Since you brought this over here, I would like to, in the future, during the course of the study, about this Jainism and Buddhism, how they shift, because they say to be an anti-Vedic path.
absolutely the same
While
as
you are saying right
Gita.
now that they have revolted against the ritualistic or some other part of Veda in which they also lose their own train. Is it?
Yes, absolutely. They are against the ritualistic part because that was so conventionalized that time that there was nothing but the ritualism. You go to the church, put this, and that's it, and then nothing happens. Yeah, or exchange with the gods. Let me give you some money to the priest, and then he will pray for you. All that, but it is not the real, true discovery, self-discovery. So Buddhism revolted, Mahavira found his way at the same time. They were in the same time. By the
Yeah.
way, many new religions came in this 500 BC around, in Taoism, even Confucius, everyone throughout the earth. You will see in the Greek civilization there was Socrates who said, "I don't want any more this, stories, myths of the past. I want to measure and to find answers for myself." This was the new trend. Mental structure of consciousness defined the language and approach.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, anyone else?
A small,
Too much.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead. Who is there? Looking who is talking.
Yeah, hi, I'm Pooja. I
Pooja.
have one more question with your earlier discussion. So you said that Vedas is the vision for the group soul of this Manvantara, right? So is it like that every Manvantara there is an evolution of consciousness where the consciousness is moving forward? So let's
Yes.
say beginning of Veda, it was at one level, and maybe at the end of this Manvantara, it will be at some higher level, something like that.
Right, we have to understand the development also, which is very confusing because we are moving towards Kali Yuga. How is that development? Yes, we are rejecting, we narrowing down the whole thing. As they say, yeah, that the cow of the Dharma was on 4 legs in Satya Yuga, in Treta on 3 legs, in Dvapara on 2 legs, and in Kali Yuga she is balancing on 1 leg. So this is something to think of. We do not really understand this narrowing down. What is this narrowing down really represent? And many scholars and sages in India do not understand the Vedic knowledge and Sri Aurobindo's knowledge because of this. Because Sri Aurobindo believed the Veda was the beginning of our spiritual knowledge and the Veda will be its end, as he says. Yes, the Veda comprises all the knowledge we have to know about what we are here to do as a group soul. And how come that we are narrowing down at the end of Kali Yuga? What is this narrowing down? And knowing that it is being narrowed down, many people object to Sri Aurobindo. For example, Radha Krishnan, in his history of Indian philosophy, he says, we know that it's very interesting view by Sri Aurobindo, but we believe in progress. So we cannot take Veda as the foundation of all knowledge, the highest. Because progress, where is progress? You know? So they do not see that the Veda does not mean widening the scope. It means bringing the wideness into the individual frame. It is changing individuals. That's why it is narrowing down. Individuals are much more advanced now, every individual separately taken, than it was in Satya Yuga. In Satya Yuga, it was open air for everyone, for every soul. But now everyone is formulating a new language, a new search. Actually, Krishna defines it beautifully in his Gita, when Arjuna objects to him, saying that how would we find out if the women are going astray and the jatis are mixed? How would we really hold on to the knowledge system which was built up in Varnik system? And Krishna says, now everyone in his heart finds me the supreme. Even women, even Shudras, what to say about Brahmins and Kshatriyas, royal souls. Everyone will be looking for this true connection in the individual frame. This individualization is the way to go for what? For embodiment of the divine in individual framework. That's why narrowing down to the extent that you cannot proceed anymore, you cannot really endure anymore, and then you have to drop everything as we drop our body. Our bodies become so old and incapable of holding to the spirit that we have to drop them and to get another new body from the beginning, start again and again and again. So the same manvantaras for the group soul. We exhaust everything, all the plan we had a vision, we exhausted and came to the impossibilities of transformation because the darkness is also infinite and it offers more and more challenges. And we see those challenges and we see we do not have the power, plan, the vision. We exhausted the possibilities. Now we have to recapitulate. We have to recapture our plan, make a new vision, a new Veda, and come again down and start again the process, continue the journey. If you think of it, it's a very logical way of looking at things. If we are reincarnating as individuals, why group soul should not reincarnate as group soul individual? This is the Indian tradition, and I believe it is very close to the spiritual truth, which we cannot formulate because we are very scientific, very, outward oriented.
But immortality of this individual form is the aim of this whole transformation.
Absolutely. And here we come to the integral yoga. We finally understand why integral yoga is so Vedic. Because this process is to end in the immortality in time and space, and not beyond time and space. That's why in the Veda there is no even mentioning of mukti. You will not find in the Rig Veda mukti word. There is no liberation as such. Why? Because there is no liberation. There is only engagement more and more into this work, sacrifice, bringing more and more powers of the divine to work here in nature. And that is very close to the integral yoga, as we know. Only in the integral yoga we have this descent. Yes, Chad, you want to say something? I see. No?
My name is Suchitra. I have written my question in the chat.
Oh, please just
Yes.
say it, because
Okay, I'll just read it out.
you can say it.
First, yeah, I'll just read it out from the chat itself because I thought that it would be easier for me to formulate if I write it down. So
Oh,
as to not become secondary, uh, when you use that word, India or Indians will need to exercise a will to rediscover this knowledge. But what I want to know is it not that knowledge which is so profound would actually perpetuate itself through humans and would choose humans as the carriers through the process of civilization? So then how do we understand this will that Indians need to exercise in order to not become something secondary, as you suggested? Where do the divine and the human will meet?
whoa, this is the whole plan. Where will they meet? I can't tell you, but I think Sri Aurobindo is already here, and the mother, and Vivekananda, and Ramakrishna, and all the sages, and all the literature, and all the knowledge, and yogis, and so they are all bringing the elements of the spirituality here. Only we have to reconsider one particular framework. We should not look at the spirit as something separate from nature. That reconsideration is to be done. Once we see that the whole manifestation, the whole world is a spiritual enterprise, we change our attitude to life. We look at it as a spiritual ongoing growth. And in that sense, there are many ways to go. And they're all spiritual and true. So there they meet, spirit and matter. To answer briefly, yes, there are many more ways to talk about this, and we will talk about this again and again. Any more thoughts before I jump into my part? Chad wanted to say something, and then he was.
Me? Or are you saying I did? Or are you saying
Yes,
chat?
Chad.
Oh no, I didn't have a question that I'm confident enough to ask yet.
Not question, maybe some thought. It's not about questions only, it's about thoughts, some ideas, some revelations, some
Well, I guess
ahas.
I found it interesting that the Earth kind of provides the resistance for our spiritual evolution because in the spiritual realm there's no such resistance. Is this what the mother was saying?
Yeah, the psychic presence is on Earth. Yes, Earth is a psychic being. If there is anyone, any creature to be evolving in consciousness and growing, it has to be born on Earth. Interestingly, yesterday we had this cultural fellowship, and there was one Chinese lady who asked, "But why do we need the psychic for the beauty? Can't we find beauty without psychic?" And this is something interesting to think, because Mother spoke about Chinese race as if born on earth to gain the psychic presence and being, because only on earth this race could get, and being long on earth they acquired a psychic presence. Without earth there is no psychic presence, there is no psychic being. These are typal beings. And so her question was so relevant. Of course, you can find some beauty in the vital sense, in the mental sense as a structure and so on, but supreme divine beauty with the depth of understanding, of apprehensive and comprehensive cognition together, you can find only in the psychic. And psychic is charging, the psychic presence on earth is charging vital, mental, and physical bodies, charging them, making them capable of recognizing and manifesting the beauty, the divine beauty on earth. That's why earth is so important. And we have to be very grateful that we are in this body here. It's a great opportunity for us to grow in consciousness. And we found Sri Aurobindo and the Mother in the Veda. We found everything we had to find. And now we can only start using it for our own, conscious evolution. Okay, something else, or I jump into my thing? Okay. So if you look at you see the PowerPoint presentation, yes? If you look at what Sri Aurobindo did in his writings, it's kind of amazing if you start analyzing what he did. Why it is so important we try to answer for the humanity, because Sri Aurobindo founded it, the beginnings, the historical consciousness that all our group soul is engaged with and is focused upon. This is our quintessential answer for why we are here, what we are here for. So, and if you look at his works, they're all based on the Vedas, Upanishads, and the Gita. Synthesis of yoga is the Gita, as you know. Yes? Purna yoga of the Gita, plus his own yoga of self perfection. Then the essays on the Gita, marvelous book. The Life Divine started as essays on the Isha Upanishad. And all the words and quotations are from the Rig Veda and Upanishads there in the Life Divine. The Upanishads, 2 volumes, profound works. The Secret of the Veda, the Hints to the Mystic Fire, Vedic and Philological Studies, the Origins of Aryan Speech, all are related to the Rigvedic usage of language. Savitri itself, a legend and the symbol, is the story from Mahabharata, as you know. And Sri Aurobindo in the preface, in the letter, he writes that this is the story which belongs to the Vedic cycle. Yes? Because, Savitri is so unique in one particular regard that all epic stories, they are always of the same kind. So there is a prediction at the beginning, what is to happen at the end, and then we see it unfolding through the story. So always, when there is a prediction that this is to happen, this is the, and as Narad came and said that Satyavan must die within 1 year and nothing you can do about it. And we had to watch it happen. So we read through and we come to the end of the story, and what a surprise, it didn't happen. This story of Savitri stands out from all other stories. All other stories are predicted and they are happening as it was predicted. It's the only story when Savitri changed by unchanging will the very fate of Satyavan. Satyavan is a group soul of humanity, by the way. And she she undid the whole curse of humanity's soul leaving the body. So as Mother says beautifully, that through this 7th Manvantara to 8th, Vaivasvata Manvantara, there will be no pralaya. We will change into the spiritual age. We are at the brink of the spiritual age. We are drifting through the subjective age, which is the beginning of the spiritual age. It's the most difficult passage now. There's so much falsehood rising up, but it is rising because it wants to be kind of illumined by the light of the truth. So we have to look at it and see what is wrong with us in order to step into the spiritual age. So Savitri is that story where pralaya is not to happen, as it were. That's what Sri Aurobindo says on the Indian spiritual knowledge. I quote it often, and I will do it again today, because this is a profound one sentence, or two sentences here, of Sri Aurobindo from the Foundations of Indian Culture. What is important, what is to be done in India? The recovery of the old spiritual knowledge and experience in all its splendor, depth, and fullness is its first, most essential work. Nobody does this work anymore, neither in India nor abroad, to the extent it has to be done. The flowing of this spirituality into new forms of philosophy, literature, art, science, and critical knowledge is the second. So with that light recovered from the spiritual knowledge and experience, that light has to charge all our philosophical search, literature, art, science, critical knowledge. It has to deconstruct our sciences and find in them the truth which is usable and important for the future development. And the last and the most difficult one, an original dealing with modern problems in the light of the Indian spirit and the endeavor to formulate a greater synthesis of a spiritualized society is the third and most difficult. A new society is to be built. Mother started Aurobindo on this ground. She wanted to build a new society. Look what happened. It's total disaster. We are not able to build the spiritualized society. Why? We didn't do the homework. We didn't recover the spiritual knowledge and experience in all its splendor, depth, and fullness. We did touch here and there small things. We got some glimpses. Yes, but we didn't do the real work, groundwork, which is to be done. And India has all the literature, all the foundation for this work. It needs only the researchers, the people interested in this spiritual endeavor. Its success on these three lines will be the measure of its help to the future of humanity, India's help. Without India, we are doomed. Somewhere Sri Aurobindo says, in other words, not the exact word. And he says, even if the whole world would turn away from this path of the spiritual recovery, India herself can do this work without any other country. It's interesting. Somewhere there is a passage on this. If the world will not follow, suppose, or would reject this path, or would be so much involved in their own things that they would not see the purpose or meaning in this. That's what Sri Aurobindo says on the Veda. At the root of all that we Hindus have done, thought, and said, through these many thousands of years, behind all we are and seek to be, there lies concealed the fount of our philosophies, the bedrock of our religions, the kernel of our thought, the explanation of our ethics and society, the summary of our civilization, the rivet of our nationality, a small body of speech, Veda. The Veda was the beginning of our spiritual knowledge. The Veda will remain its end. These compositions of an unknown antiquity are as the many breasts of the eternal mother of knowledge, from which our succeeding ages have all been fed. The vision of the group soul of humanity. And one more, and here I will stop. I seek not science, says Sri Aurobindo, not theosophy, but Veda, the truth about Brahman. Not only about his essentiality, but about his manifestation, not a lamp on the way to the forest, but a light and a guide to joy and action in the world. The truth which is beyond opinion, the knowledge which all thought strives after. Yasmin vijñāte sarvam vijñātam. I believe that Veda to be the foundation of Sanatana Dharma. I believe it to be the concealed divinity within Hinduism. But a veil has to be drawn aside. A curtain has to be lifted. You see, I highlighted this. I believe it to be knowable and discoverable. I believe the future of India and the world to depend on its discovery and on its application. Not to the renunciation of life, but to life in the world and among men. Okay, I will stop here. These are very inspiring words, which have to inspire you to study the Veda and go deeper into the spiritual practice. Especially Indians. I just wonder, you have to come back to your purpose. But somewhere Sri Aurobindo says that there are many Indians who are born in India, but they are not Indians in their soul. And there are many Westerners who are born in the Western countries, and they are Indians in their souls. So we got mixed up for some reason. So, any thoughts?
Vladimir, I have a question, please.
Yes, go ahead.
Sri Aurobindo talks about India as the psychic being, and it is, but in today's world, in the picture of India, and even though I'm an Indian, is so different. I mean, there's corruption everywhere. I don't know much. There's not much of spirituality, not only in India, in most places now. So how come India will be there? And how about the people who are from India but not in India, and other people who are practicing the integral yoga and on the lines of Sanatan Dharma, leading their lives? Will it really be India? That's my question. Or will it? India is spiritual, India is psychic, India is the mother. I agree. But look at the picture of India today. It's totally the opposite. And it's so sad. So what is happening? When will this change happen? In hundreds of years?
Possible.
That's my question.
Yeah, hundreds of years is not really a long period for this. India already exists many thousands of years. Yes, this question was also put to the mother, and mother says that India took onto itself all the challenges, yes, of humanity. All possible challenges in the humanity are in India. Yeah? And if India will resolve them, that would be the work for humanity. India cannot be only privileged with knowledge. For those who have knowledge comes a lot of challenges to resolve the issues in life. You have the knowledge, now you have the issues. And they are supremely difficult to overcome. You have to grow in consciousness. Only through consciousness you can overcome these contradictions, this corruption, this and that, poverty, you name it. There are so many things to overcome. The whole set of things, the whole set of obstacles of the whole world are there. And there is another issue which is important to know about India. Aurobindo speaks about this. He says India is free, was always free to engage in any inquiry to discover the spirit. And because of that freedom of inquiry, the freedom of real freedom of speech and search for the realization, India always embraced any possible religion, any possible form of sect, you name it. They never had any objection to anyone. Yeah? If you're a guru and have few students and you are totally false, India would never object to you. They will not come checking on you. If you have students, it means you are useful for them. That's good enough. India is very tolerating any form of search for the truth. And because of that, Aurobindo says, India is not developing very fast. If you look at other forms, other societies, he compares it to Japan. He says Japan selected very narrow, very ethical idea of how to behave, of behavior, of culture, and they evolved very fast. The same in Europe. They selected very narrow one or two ideas, concepts, which they follow, and they develop very fast. But India goes in all directions simultaneously, up and down. Everything is allowed. You can look for the knowledge by denying the divine, charvakas, by becoming, the engaged in life and desires and you name it. And that is also okay in India. And nobody will blame you for this. This is an amazing, when you come to India, you feel that freedom immediately. You arrived. Everything is possible. You can search and find. It's up to you where you go. And this is India. And because of that, of course, there are so many obstacles, so many clashes, as you rightly said. But they have to be faced and overcome. Yeah, that's the challenge. Look at the whole world, what a mess. Pakistan, India, what do we have? Oh God, that has to be resolved first. Yes, Mahesh, please.
I really like what you said right now. My first question in the chat was really, why is India unique? And can't there be consciousness in other parts of the universe and things like that? But I think what really resonates with me in what you say is that eighth and ninth verse of the Isha, which talks about Vidya and Avidya. It says that you're into greater darkness when you just follow the unity without engaging adequately with the multiplicity, what that we call avidya. And I agree with you that India offers that opportunity more than almost any other country in the world of engaging with that universe of multiplicity, through which to understand unity.
Yeah, absolutely. If you take China, for example, it's very different, very doctrine-oriented, very restrictive in expressing one's opinion, becomes very successful in the economic way. But what about the spirit? What about the search for the truth? What about the complexity of our life? It disappears. It becomes like not like a union, but the mother always speaks about this too, that we are not looking for uniformity. It becomes uniformal. Look at them, how when they dance in this Olympic Games. Yeah, thousands of them. They are like one person, like a robot. You know, this is uniformity. And when Indians are dancing together, everyone has something else. It's amazing. They cannot dance together as one person. Just look at this example and you will understand the difference.
I don't think Sri Aurobindo meant India as a geographical land, right? What he meant,
Also,
because we are dominated by English, we call it as a India, but otherwise it is a Bharat, right?
yes.
Those who are always indulge in the stage, in the luminosity. So in that case, even in the foreign countries, those who are dedicated to the light, they are Bharatiya, Bharat only, no?
Yes. Bhavani Bharati, the Mother India. Yes, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But it is the land also. It is the land. It is a special land. When you come to India, you feel immediately from abroad. You just step on the soil. Don't speak to anyone. Just stay for 5 minutes and you will feel the presence. It's something very unique on the Indian soil. Yes, Vasudha.
Yes, I just want to make a comment that see, mother in I think it is around 1968 or 69 or 67. She told somebody, I don't exactly remember to whom she told, that the centenary of my coming to India will be a marked it will be a marked sign of victory of the divine over the evil. So she came to Pondicherry in 1920, and it's a natural year that she has told that in 100 years of my coming to India will change. And we really find that things are becoming better from that region. And also we know that that there are periods of darkness which comes before we have lights, the Usha coming, and before the Usha we have the darkest days. So we have to be complacent. And since Mother and Sri Aurobindo are there, have come and here always, so it's that we can hope, and the hope there is a certitude.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if there will be a total collapse of everything, which is possibility, Sri Aurobindo spoke about this, we will continue our journey. We have no other, other work to do. We are here for this work, to manifest more and more of the divine in material form. India has to change its own kind of direction, because until now this Advaitic vision that we have to leave nature and disappear in the spirit is the paradigm which emerged from, as Sri Aurobindo says, from the Vedic rishis failing, it's his words, failing to convert, to transform the earthly life of man. Humanity was not ready for this spiritual kind of enterprise. And it is very difficult to live in life and to live it spiritually. It's a very different life. Yes. And because humanity was not ready, there was a split. So part of humanity went with India and the Veda, from the Veda towards the post-Vedic literature, fixing themselves on the spirit alone, whatever, but we have to hold on to the spirit, forgetting nature, denying nature, and the other part went to the West. And the Western civilization, Chaldean tradition, started with alchemy, changing nature, yes, manipulating, managing nature, and gradually forgetting spirit. Not totally, none of these forgot the nature of spirit, but the preference was made. That's why we have materialistic West and spiritualistic East. Now the time has come to come back. Yeah? Mother comes with the occult system, occultism and Kabbalah and in this Jewish tradition and Christianity and mystics from the West. Christianity is a big question. We will have to look into it. It's in between already. And Sri Aurobindo comes from the East. And they came together and brought East and West finally together. This is the idea. So we have to be engaged in life spiritually, not living life, not living spirit. A totally new formulation. Without them, we would not have this. There is nobody else in Indian tradition who really does this. Krishna speaks in the Gita about karma yoga. That was the ancient ongoing, sacrifice. He calls it a sacrifice. The ways how you can engage in an activity in a spiritual way. But that was lost in time. Nobody could follow it. It was very difficult to follow. And now, as he says, I reveal this to Arjuna, to you, Arjuna, because you are my bhakta, you are my beloved. That's why I give you this quintessential knowledge that spirit and matter have to work together. Sri Aurobindo and the mother did the same. They brought karma yoga back for Aurobindo. To take work and do it as yoga. What does it mean? No more meditation, separate, closing eyes, disappearing, and that's it. It's not spirituality. It's only a part of the process where you have to reconnect and then you have to bring that connection into action, into life. This is East and West coming back together. This is again Veda being reinstalled, remembered from the beginning why we are here. It was forgotten for a few thousand years in between why we are here. That's why the Veda is so important.
I had a question for you.
Yes.
If that's okay. So like you were just talking about, and you said that the seers or the rishis made themselves fit for this spiritual knowledge. It seems like we live in an age where there's not a lot of people that are like trying to make themselves fit or purify themselves to an extent where you can, receive a higher consciousness. Or a pressure. It feels like, or did Sri Aurobindo say it was like a pressure from above trying to work itself through each of us? And I just feel like we live in an age where we're not ready to receive, a lot of us aren't ready to receive that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, we have to make ourselves fit. There are many fitness clubs.
Well, yeah, not just physically, but also mentally, right? And
yes, absolutely. We have to know why we are here. It's first step is to know that there is a meaning, a purpose. If one is dissatisfied with the meaning of life, you see everything, you have everything, you are fit, you are healthy, you have good family, you have money, food, interesting work, and then you feel something is missing fundamentally. Something is not there, which should be there. This is the beginning.
Vladimir,
yes.
I wanted to ask about, is it imperative to know the Sanskrit language in order to understand the Vedas in their true spirit? I mean, I learned Sanskrit in school in India, and that was very basic. So now, do you think Sanskrit is important to know and the significance of it? Could you please dwell a little on that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the topic of the next presentation on the language. Language is knowledge. There was why Sri Aurobindo was drawn to this formula, because the whole Indian tradition is built on language, on knowledge of the word. All these memorizings, readings, svadhyayas, constant svadhyayas, constant. Why? Because the word is an expression of consciousness. When we read Savitri, we, as you know, as you love Savitri, you merge into the depth of something which you may even recognize as your own. You become part of the vaster consciousness of your own. You appropriate a higher level which is your own, but veiled deeper. It has to be unveiled, uncovered, and the word is the means, the vehicle. As the Vedic Rishi says, you know, the word in the Veda is called Brahman. It's later in the post-Vedic literature we call Brahman spirit. But truly speaking, Brahman and Brahmachari is the one who follows the Veda. Brahman is the Veda. Brahmanaspati is the Lord of the Divine Word, who generates this intention through the word, aspiration from the heart, which brings us to the spirit, spiritual realization, calls for the grace. Grace comes to us from calling, from prayer. There are many ways of talking about this. You may pray to the divine sincerely and receive the answer, or you may read Sri Aurobindo Savitri and be in such a grace of his presence that is unthinkable. How that even is even possible to have that presence. We are not made for this. There is nothing outside this world which can make that presence active in us, but the word of the Rishi. Yeah, I was giving this example before, that when I read Ramayana, the presence was so overwhelming because of language of Valmiki. By the way, Sri Aurobindo puts Valmiki on the first stage of all the poets. Yes? And when you read Ramayana, just read one page, Sanskrit, of course, and you feel that all the troubles, all the pain, psychological discordance, fears are gone. You think, is it possible? Is it real? No, and it is real. And when you read it through, you will have experiences of the unimaginable presence of love and joy, and you will be giggling and laughing and crying and everything. And these experiences are the highest you can get in your life. Your life will not give you the opportunity to have these profound, deep experiences as the text of Ramayana. How come? How is that even possible? You know, if you think of it, because it's charged. It's charged with a higher consciousness, with deeper psychic consciousness, which is beaming through, and you articulating it in yourself get the experience. The whole Indian tradition is built on the word as the creator of consciousness, as the vehicle. In that sense, Sanskrit is the means, and we have here Sanskrit students. They are studying it because and for that purpose. Yes, Selby and Milan, would you like to say a few words?
I can just say that studying Sanskrit is more than just learning how to translate. It's reorganizing your brain, reorganizing the way that you think, giving you access to the actual vibrations that have meaning, and that the sound itself has meaning. It's a transformative experience all by itself.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
but Sri Aurobindo did this with English language. And they asked him even, why don't you write in Sanskrit? Sanskrit is much more fit for this, for your exposition and expression. He said he has to use the English language because the world is speaking in English. He brought that light of consciousness for the world. Yeah? Not everybody will read Sanskrit. It's a privilege to learn Sanskrit and Sri Aurobindo together. Then you have double means, as it were. So
Vladimir, I just wanted to ask one quick question. This was a new thought to me when you said that the mother coming to Sri Aurobindo was the East and the West joining. And so is that how the spirit and the matter came together? And so it became Vedic, and in that way, wait, I just lost my word here. Is that why the double avatar was needed for this time to reunite the Veda?
there is a deeper meaning, of course, to it, which is more occult meaning. Mother represents, this is the Divine Mother, who represents the psychic presence in us, yes? She is the mother who connects us directly to the transcendental. Sri Aurobindo, when he started his journey, he said that he came to the point where there was no possibility for him to connect the highest and the lowest. So when he came up to the highest consciousness, he saw that he cannot connect that highest to the physical world. There was a gap. He didn't know how to cross that gap. There was disconnect between the physical and spiritual experience. And then when Mother came, she brought this psychic presence from the heart of the psychic being. And he saw the link. And that's why he calls her the golden bridge, which connects the spirit to the material world, to the material change. And that's in the letter to Sadak, he explains this, that why there are two. He says, I am the presence of the spirit from above the head, from here, from this point, Jivatma, witness, Purusha, over the mental and vital. And Mother is the presence from within the heart, which influences the vital and physical. And that's how they connect. The spiritual can be connected to the physical through the psychic. We will speak about this more because psychic transformation is the key to this yoga. Yes? Psychic has to be brought to the front. That very nature of our innermost, involved being, the spark of the divine has to come to the front and take charge of our mental, vital, and physical nature. This is the first step, and then there will be more steps. I will speak about this more extensively. But Mother brought the Western paradigm, yes. And this Western paradigm was so different, and it highlighted many, many parts of the Vedic paradigm which were not totally clear, and together they became clearer. And I will speak about this also. I will show what Mother brought and what Sri Aurobindo, and how it comes to the Veda, because they are both pre-Chaldean and pre-Vedic tradition come from one tradition. They deviated in different directions. One was holding this nature, other was holding to the spirit, denying nature. Now if you reconnect them, you will see the holistic picture, integral yoga. Yes, somebody was saying something, I interrupted.
Yeah, and I was asking, you mentioned about Sanskrit, and I heard that, there's a classical Sanskrit. Is it much different from the Sanskrit we use today?
Well, what we use today is even more different from classical. Yes, it's more modernized Sanskrit with a syntax which is coming from our analytic languages like Hindi or English, So we use it in a very different manner. Classical Sanskrit is an extract or narrowing down to the particular rules by Panini. Panini has his work, Panini Ashtadhyayi, in the 5th century BC. I was studying Panini in the Pune University, and made my MA was in Panini work, and translated the first 2 books of Panini Ashtadhyayi into Russian language. But interestingly, this Panini is very flexible with language. He gives all the examples from the Veda and so on, but he makes choices that this is more applicable, this is less applicable, and so on. And these choices became the rules. Before, Vedic language was very vast. Everything was possible and cognizable. You could formulate your own forms, your own categories if you want. It was not fixed to particular categories. You could create your category on the fly and it would be recognized. It was a living language, totally living. And then it became more and more formula, rule-oriented, yes? Because the whole tradition was fading away, so how to keep up with it? So Panini is a unique creation. We can speak about this separately. But it is not different from the Vedic. It's just one particular selection of the Vedic. And modern language is also not different from the Vedic or classical, but it's even more selective selection to make it easier. It's like to Kali Yuga, we are narrowing down the whole thing. Great, so no more questions, then I guess we can stop here. We are 7 minutes over the time. This was our introductory kind of talk. We want to see where we are, what we will be dealing with. Next time I will speak more on a little bit on the language as knowledge. And I will start with that, and then I will start with psychological vision of creation. How it is, why it is so important for the Vedic vision. Great, thank you all, and let us close with a minute of silence.
Yes, Vladimir.
Thank you, namaste.
Namaste. See you all tomorrow. Thank you.